dum diddy dum diddy dum.
Hello and welcome to the Analyst Inside Cricket in association with LV Insurance, who of course are the sponsors of this test series between England and India. And today we've had the most compelling day's test cricket you could imagine, with both sides pretty much now on a par. England with a marginal lead of 27, but my goodness, they had to work so hard for it. And we've said we've run out of superlatives about Jimmy Anderson or for Jimmy Anderson over this test match. Today, we've run out of superlatives for Joe Root, right?
Absolutely brilliant from Root today. I mean, to do it back-to-back Saturday. Saturday's a sort of special day for Test cricket. It's normally when you get the biggest crowd. And actually, we've had the best weather. We had the best weather last Saturday at Trent Bridge, and we had the best weather of the game so far at Lord's today. It was a golden day at Lord's and a brilliant innings from Joe Root. And he, once again, he's holding everything together for England. Okay, there were contributions today, as there was last week, but without him, where would England be in this game? They would be second best. But it was a chanceless innings. You know, a bit of luck at times. It's some LBW shouts that went his way, but just total control and quality. And he's now scored more than 1,200 runs in the year, and he is the fourth batter to make 4 scores of 180 or more in a year. That's in the history of Test match cricket. And the other 3 are Mohammed Yusuf, Michael Clarke, and Brendan McCullum. So he's just having a fantastic year. And India must be sick of the sight of him. He's made 3 hundreds against them this year. But without him, where would England be in this Test match?
Yeah, he's the definition of insatiable, as you pointed out with those high scores. And more than 9,000 test runs now. I think he's the 16th player to do it and the second youngest. So it's a bit of a sort of stats monument to all the things he's achieved in the last year or so. He keeps breaking records. And, well, I mean, he's going to break Alistair Cook's record for England for sure. Whether he'll actually get as far as Sachin Tendulkar, one doesn't know. But the amazing thing is he doesn't seem to expend a lot of energy in his innings, does he? He's a caresser of the ball. He's not a bludgeoner, and he's a steerer and glider. It's quite interesting actually that if you looked at his wagon wheel of this innings, hardly anything down the ground. If anything, I don't think there was anything straight down the ground, which shows that firstly he's got the ability to play the ball so late, but also that actually you don't have to hit the ball in the V straight when the ball is moving around. Actually, you go with the movement and you steer it square. So a lot, most of his runs square the wicket or even behind square. The dexterity of angling the ball wide of that fielder at backward point, who kept being moved a foot this way and that, and he kept managing to steer it wide of him. It's genius, really. It's magical to watch, and the stamina, the concentration, the dedication, the commitment, the sort of obduracy, I suppose, the ruthlessness to stay in for that length of time and still play. When he played that ramp shot off Mohammad Siraj for 4 with Anderson at the other end, and then a slog sweep over deep mid-wicket next ball, then the next ball, resolute, immaculate block. I mean, I said we'd run out of superlatives, and we have. It's just incredible to watch.
Well, we ran out of superlatives with Jimmy Anderson last night, and this evening we run out of superlatives for Joe Root. He's in the form of his life. It was actually a really thrilling last half hour, really unusual last half hour as well, with Anderson coming to the crease, clonked on the helmet, and then he had to endure this marathon over from Jasprit Bumrah, where they kept checking for the no ball, and he bowled 4 no balls in an over, which we think is the first time in 5 years that a bowler in a Test match has bowled 4 no balls in an over. It was torture for Anderson. It kept on going, and as you said, then there was the ramp shot. Then there was the slog out towards deep mid-wicket. Of course, there was the comedy run out as well. He was involved in the run out with Wood towards the end of play, which brought Anderson in. Jimmy was probably expecting a nice quiet day today with his feet up after his exploits of yesterday, especially the way England were batting. And then he came in for what was actually a horrible last 25 minutes or so, hit on the head, and then out to the final ball of the day, which means that we've had two innings in the first 3 days of the game, 20 wickets in 3 days. Where are we in terms of who's winning the match, yours and your who's winning.
Very
graphic.
good question.
England, of course, clearly right back in the match. They'd started their 119 for 3. If they'd lost 2 early wickets, then they were under severe pressure. They didn't. That partnership between Bairstow and Root got them going. It was worth 121.
Yeah.
And so where are we then?
Well, you can see that in the lines that are on the screen there, that England, around about the time of that 121-run partnership between Bairstow and Root, England just sneaked ahead of India and the draw. And because they were able, then Mo and Ali and to a lesser extent Joss Butler added runs as well, that England red line started to climb towards the 50% win percentage mark, and India's has plummeted down to about the 25% mark. Polishing off the England innings has given India a little bit of hope now. Then back to nearly 30%, England down to about 45% win percentage. It's all in the balance, isn't it? Really, it depends how India bat the second innings, and of course England have got to bat last. I mean, the pitch looks pretty good. The Indians have only got one spinner, so I don't really think England should have too many fears about batting last. If it was Ashwin and Jadeja together, maybe they would, but because it's only Jadeja and 4 seamers, I sort of feel that unless India get 300 or at least close to 300 in their second innings, England could win. I mean, maybe I think they could chase 280 in the final innings. It's a question of whether they can bowl India out, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It's interesting. I think that's the closest those 3 lines have been at the end of a day's play in this series so far. India controlled the last Test match for the most part. They were well ahead after the first day. They were ahead after the second. But those 3 lines, the draw, India and England, are all reasonably close together. England favourites, but you could eat. I think for the first time today, the possibility of a draw in this match, came into view. I'm not saying it will be a draw, but I mean I see that's third favourite at the moment on your who's winning.
I mean,
it could be, couldn't it? If India bat really well in their second innings, you can see a situation where if they don't get bowled out tomorrow, they bat into the final day. When do England roll them over? Is there enough time to chase the score they need to win the game? Of course, we saw England not chase 270 on the final day of the New Zealand Test match. They turned down the opportunity to go for that. So we'll see how that pans out. But it's been a brilliant fluctuating Test match, and full of anticipation for the last 2 days. It's been a really tight game and great fight back by England. To be honest with you, I mean, I think probably listeners would sense that in the way we've been speaking about this series. I didn't think England had it in them to come back in this Test match and get into the position they are. Certainly after 2 further days, India did such a good job that first day. I couldn't really see where England were getting back into the game. But of course, what we did do was underestimate. I did perhaps underestimate Jimmy Anderson and Joe Root. It's interesting actually to see the end of leading the England team off, and the end of the second innings of the match, you saw Joe Root leading Anderson off into the pavilion. England's 2 huge stars, they're 2 big stars, and they both performed in this Test match.
Yeah, I mean, Joe Root couldn't have done it, I suppose, without Johnny Bairstow in particular. I thought his contribution was excellent. If you look at the way the day started, he was on 6. He'd only just come in. He could have had a night watchman the night before, but he didn't. And I just thought he had purpose and intent and sort of some urgency about his batting, particularly his running between the wickets and looking to hit a few boundaries. And he just injected some kind of energy into the innings, or at least revitalized Root and got him going as well. And they rotated strikes so well, and Bairstow herring up and down for 2s and 1s. And as a batsman like Root, you don't want to be someone who's batting with someone who takes up whole overs, do you? Because you want to get on strike, as much as possible. And if you're batting with someone who plays out maidens or only hits boundaries, it can be quite frustrating. But Bairstow's got that good mixture of, some boundaries, but singles as well, which gives you plenty of opportunity to have the strike yourself. I bet he really likes batting with Bairstow because he sort of puts the bowlers on the back foot a little bit. And it was a shame when he was out, but I thought he made a really sort of important contribution. I don't want to see him at number 3. I think at number 5, where he gets across his stumps and works balls slightly through the leg side, he doesn't play as straight as Root does. So I think he would be exposed in the top 3. But at number 5, that's a good spot in the absence of Stokes. Butler, less convincing, I thought, and perhaps he still hasn't quite worked out what his role is and how he should play. Maybe he should look at the way Pant plays in that uninhibited style and, maybe adopt that a little bit more. And we just have to forgive him when he gets out. But today he was looking a little bit hesitant and a little bit unconvincing. I thought Moen did pretty well, actually. Moen could have gone on, but played his sort of fairly purposeful way. Looked as if he benefited from hitting the ball cleanly in the 100 in a funny sort of way. So, yeah, I mean, there were some good support acts there for Root, but without Root, England would be dead, wouldn't they?
Yeah, at best, though, interesting, first half century in Test cricket, 2 years, and his first half century in 20 Test matches. It does look to me to be a player who is more suited to that middle order. And I always thought it was unfortunate when he was bumped up the order and moved around, because he was actually doing quite well at number 7 as a wicketkeeper, and then he was pushed up the order to try to paper over some of the cracks further up the order. What about this England batting lineup then, Yoz? How about this? Burns, Hamid, Pope, Root, Stokes, Bairstow, Butler. England's top 7, a sort of revamped top 7. I'm thinking of Ollie Pope up the order. Where does he get in the side? If Stokes and Bairstow and Butler are in the England side, in that sort of middle order, middle lowerish order, where does he get in the side? Root obviously 4. Can they say, well, look, let's see if he works at number 3 and push Hamid up to open with Burns? I mean, that is a potential option for England. I'm not saying it's perfect. I don't think there is a perfect solution. But they obviously got to try to do something at the top of the order. I think anyway. We'll see how Sibley gets on in the second innings.
Well, and see how Hamid gets on in the second innings as well, of course.
Well, that's a very good point. I mean, if he plays a couple of Test matches and he gets 4 low scores, then what do you do? Because he has he obviously has been out of Test cricket for a long time, and can he reacclimatise to playing at this level? He had to have a lot of struggles, a lot of low scores, but he's had a good season this time round. Not too bad last time. He's forced his way back in, but that first innings dismissal, it can happen. But it leaves 1 or 2 doubts. We'll see, because he's going to be tested on the final day. But we'll park that for now, and we'll sort of concentrate on today and perhaps what's going to happen tomorrow.
LV Insurance's In With Heart tour took Lydia Greenway to a children's session in Bristol to see the good work being done by the project, supported by Funds for Runs, to attract young girls from the South Asian community to cricket. But that is not the only work being done with help from the initiative in the city. Bristol West Indian Phoenix CC is a well-established Caribbean cricket club based in the inner city, with 3 male teams turning out. Bristol West Indian Phoenix CC will be using the additional cash from Funds for Runs to now develop opportunities for girls' cricket at the club and create a welcoming environment.
Well, we've talked a lot about England's batting today and Joe Root and the support he's got from Bairstow and Butler and Moeen Ali. What about India's bowling? I thought at times they looked a bit flat. Mind you, I think these were the best batting conditions in the match so far. The sun was out for the most part of the day, whereas it's been overcast for the first 2 days of the game. But no wickets for Jasprit Bumrah today. He did bowl that torrid over to Jimmy Anderson, where he hit him on the helmet, was digging in at the ribs towards the end. He bowled those no balls, 33 extras in all from India. But Mohammad Siraj ran in, picked up 4 wickets, and Ishan, do you think he was better as the day went on? A bit disappointing to start with into the side, but they picked up 3 wickets as the day progressed.
Yeah, Siraj was the pick, and certainly, he charged in all day. I thought Ishant Sharma did get better. He struggled from the nursery end, where the ball wasn't coming back up the slope very effectively, and he was better off on the pavilion end. Mohammed Shami was just typical Shami, beating the bat and keeping a consistent line of length, but without much luck. I think Bumrah should bowl pavilion end. I think the trouble with the nursery end is the ball tends to not carry to slip that often. It's quite hard. I'm very surprised when Jimmy Anderson bowls from the nursery end, because getting edges to carry to slip is much harder from that end, because the ball is going downhill, and because the slope goes diagonally across the ground, and the bounce actually is lower from bowling from the nursery end as well on the pitch, because you're bowling into a downslope, whereas from the pavilion end you're actually bowling into slight upslope, so the ball can just bounce a bit more from that end, and that's what Bumrah really relies on, more than outrageous movement. So he should bowl from the pavilion end more. And Jadeja actually, he's a canny bowler. I love watching him bowl because he bowls so close to the stumps and he doesn't really turn it, but he threatens the stumps the whole time. He really needs watching, and he just sort of smiles and winks at the batsman. I mean, he's an absolutely sort of mercurial bowler, fascinating to watch. We have to give the In With Heart award today, I think, to Mohammad Siraj, who just kept going with zest and enthusiasm and aggression. And he got those 2 wickets yesterday in 2 balls. Today, bounced out Johnny Bairstow round the wicket when the ball was doing absolutely nothing. And then, finally got the LBW decision against Ollie Robinson, having been hit him on the pads about 4 times. And in fact, the one that was given was probably the least out of all of them. But he deserved it for just the perseverance. So a young lad who's had a pretty tough time, domestically, and is only sort of fairly new to the Indian team, but he does give them a real bite, doesn't he? Some real penetration and some persistence. So he deserves our award today, I think.
Yeah, he looks the sort of bowlers, they talk about that cliche sort of captain's dream. He looks like the sort of bowler he wants to bowl, and he's happy to bowl, whether that's just fairly new to international cricket. He's got Virat Kohli standing at slip saying, Mohammed, would you like to bowl another over? And you go, well, yeah, I suppose so. I better had. But you're right. He's got that zest and zip and energy and enthusiasm, and he likes a chat. He'll certainly.
He's got the best celebration as well, hasn't he? The best celebration in the game.
It makes his feelings known to the batter, definitely. So just on the pavilion end versus nursery end, so are lots of bowlers actually sort of queuing up saying, "Come on, I know I want to bowl at the pavilion end," or do you think there are bowlers who are naturally suited to the nursery end and other bowlers who are naturally suited to the pavilion end, or do most pace bowlers really want to bowl from the pavilion end?
There are 2 reasons for bowling from the pavilion end. One is that usually the prevailing wind is from the pavilion end, so you're bowling with the wind. So the spearheads, the number 1 bowlers, tend to choose that end because they're bowling with the wind. And the second reason is that actually I think if you're bowling well, the pavilion end slope to a right-hander in particular is a big advantage, because you can bowl a little bit wider of off stump, and the odd ball will stay on that line and the odd ball will come back down the slope, and the batsman doesn't know which is which. So they're induced into playing balls which they don't need to play at. Whereas from the nursery end, the ball tends to naturally go away from the right-hander with the slope. So batsman can leave the ball much more comfortably, really. So the pavilion end draws batsmen into playing at balls they don't need to more often. And I think that's why the better bowlers should choose the pavilion end. Plus, there it sometimes is that little bit more bounce from that end. So that is the end of bowl. I mean, someone like Stuart Broad has made a career out of bowling cleverly from the nursery end by trying to swing the ball or move the ball against the slope, make it move up the slope, and then the odd one goes down the slope. So he's kind of used the disadvantage of every ball moving away down the slope at the nursery end into an advantage by coaxing the old ball into it or up the slope. And that's the key to it, is it's sort of almost moving the ball against the slope as well as with it. And those who can do that are geniuses and very difficult to play.
Isn't it? It's the home of cricket, and yet we're talking about a ground with a huge slope on it. You'd think they'd better make it flat, wouldn't you? Anyway,
I think it just adds to the intrigue.
Yeah. Enough sacrilegious talk. Having to go to the home of cricket. So which end did you get?
Well, I didn't get the choice, did I? Because I wasn't the quickest bowler in the team, so I tended to bowl nursery end, which was into the wind. And then if you made a good job out of it and you weren't too knackered, you got to go pavilion end at some point in the day, sort of second or third choice, and then you had to make it work for a few overs before you were sent back down to the nursery end again to charge into the wind. I think the smaller bowlers are probably better off into the wind as well, because there's less wind resistance. You can sort of duck underneath the wind. So it was just kind of, I didn't get the choice really.
let's wrap up with a look ahead to the fourth day. So 2 days left. We've had 2 innings. India tomorrow will come out under some pressure because England have got a useful-ish lead. Not much, but it's obviously better to be ahead than behind on first innings. 27 runs ahead. Now, one thing that's happened in this series so far is that India have got off to a good start. Their openers have done well. 97-run partnership in the first innings, the first test, and then in the first innings,
120.
126.
Yeah.
If England could get an early wicket or two, how much pressure one wonders does that put on this Indian batting lineup? Because you think of Pujara struggling a bit, Rahane struggling a bit. England have tamed Kohli so far, although it's still fairly early days in the series, and with that small lead as well. So is that really phase in the morning really key? That first half an hour, 40 minutes, can England get an early wicket, dislodge either Rohit or or do you think it's going to be just like a long struggle throughout the day?
Well, I think that the onus is going to be on Anderson and Robinson again, because I don't feel that Wood is probably going to be asking enough questions, or Sam Curran, and Moeen might turn the ball, but the new ball. Well, no, I think they've got to go with Robinson, and I think they've got to make the new ball count, and they've got to get an early wicket. And you're right, then that puts Pujara under pressure. I'm sure Kohli will have been inspired by watching Root. So I think we should expect a big innings from Kohli in this second innings, because he will be, they inspire each other, the sort of 4 Galacticos in the world game, and Kohli won't want to be outdone by Root. So I think a big innings from Kohli's on the horizon. But England have to try and get him at him early with the new ball, because otherwise I think he will get a big score.
So what is your hunch then? I mean, I think our hunches have been, after the first day, definitely India. After the second day, probably India. After the third day, where are you going now? Or is it just really too close to call?
I think it's a little bit weather dependent. And I think if it's overcast tomorrow, Sunday, England might just get the ball to do something. But my hunch is a draw, actually. I think if there's some really nice sort of moist, cloudy weather tomorrow, possibly England, but if there's not, draw.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. I mean, I'm sort of beginning to think the draw is a stronger possibility in this match. I didn't see it at all, as I was mentioning at the start of this podcast. I didn't see it at all in the early part of the game, because it felt fairly well advanced. But the other thing is, we're talking possibility of a draw after 3 days. I mean, the game could be almost done tomorrow. If England bowled well and rolled India out for, I don't know, say like a figure out the air, 160, say, they were able to knock off the top. Yeah. It could be almost done tomorrow.
It could, but I think the pitch is too good. It's a bit slow. I just don't see enough big wicket-taking deliveries out there to put India under that much pressure, unless they get 2 or 3 with the new ball.
I think what's great about the game is that we're talking after 3 days, and we really are in the dark about which way this game is going to go. All 4 results are possible. And if that's the case after 3 days of a test match, normally you feel that's a pretty good game. I mean, if we're still talking about all 4 results possible after 4 days, then that is an absolute cracker of a test match. I mean, tomorrow might be one of those days when the game really moves decisively one way or the other. But I would think we would finish by saying, really well played England. They stormed back in this game. I think they got away with it a bit at Trent Bridge, with the last day being washed out, but they really have stormed back in these last 2 days of the game. I didn't really see that, but thanks to Root and Anderson, that's what they have been able to do. So
we finish with a communal Root.
Well, there were plenty of those today, and my wife and daughter came today. They said, "What is that? What is that?" They don't come to much Test cricket. So my older daughter, the first time she's been to Lords, and they said, "What is that strange booing sound?" But I presume what they mean was it was the Root, which went on for quite a lot today, because he dominated today. Absolutely fantastic day's cricket as well. That's the other thing. It was a really great day's cricket. 272 for 7, cut and thrust. Both sides have their moments. And let's hope the last 2 days are equally as captivating. We'll be back to report on the fourth day tomorrow. And we're really looking forward to the day's play already. And we'll speak to them. Goodbye for now.
Dum diddy dum diddy dum.